What's going on, everyone? Welcome to part 4 of the Fusion 360 for Robotics tutorial. I'm Liz from Learn Robotics, and today we're going to be looking at how to create full assemblies using the components that we've drafted from the previous lessons. If you haven't checked out those tutorials, I recommend going back and checking those out before jumping into this lesson. Once you have all your components compiled onto your computer, we're going to go ahead and start this tutorial. So what you're looking at right now is the completed robot. We're going to put together the components using joints. We're going to add in some auxiliary components such as the NEMA 23 and NEMA 17 motors. And lastly, we're going to add in a Robotique gripper. This is their 3-finger gripper, and I think it looks really cool. All right, so let's go ahead and create ourselves a new design. You go up to File, New Design, and this is what you should see once you've got yourself a clean slate to work with. Then you're going to go up to this data panel and open that up. And in your Fusion 360 account, you're going to see all of the folders that you have available. So if you haven't created one of these yet, you can go to Library and create a new folder and then add all of your components into this folder before we get started. I already have mine in the robot arm folder. I'm going to go find all of the components that we need to create our assembly. And I like to start from the bottom and work my way towards the end effector. So we'll go ahead and find the base, and this version of the base is what we'll be using in this tutorial. You'll right click on it, and then you'll get this middle menu that opens up, and you'll select Insert into Current Design. All right, and there we have it. And it allows you to kind of move this around in whatever direction you want. And so that's kind of useful for some of these later components. Maybe zoom out a little bit just so that you can kind of see your workspace. And once you're good, you can just hit Enter, and that'll bring the component in, and you're ready to go. We'll go ahead and we'll repeat this for the next link. So go ahead and find link 1, right click, insert into current design. You'll see that's kind of overlapping this component. So what I like to do is just kind of move it out of the way just so that it's easier to access later. And we'll just kind of move it over here as well. And then you can go ahead and hit enter. So there's a couple of schools of thought when building assemblies. You can either go through and import every single part that you want to use inside of this model and then join all the components later, or you can start joining components as you import them in. And it really just depends on your preference. I kind of like how clean it looks when you just start joining components that go together as you import them, and that way you don't have a bunch of components floating in space. They're going to have to try to either shut off or work around just to be able to join them. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to join 2 components, and then we'll continue assembling up this robot in a minute. So what you'll do is you're going to hit the J key on your computer. That's going to bring up the joint menu, and then you're going to need to select the first edge or face that you want to join. And because we've got this base here and this component here, this link 1, we're going to want to join the edge underneath this lip to the top of the base. So we'll go ahead and we're going to select this outer circle, and then we're going to go ahead and select this outer circle. And you'll see that it snaps right over, and that looks pretty good. So some of the cool options about the joints that you can do in Fusion 360, they give you motion types. So if you want to simulate how this would actually work in real life, you can actually do that by changing the motion type. You can play around with a bunch of other options, but for this one, we're going to leave it at Revolute. Once that looks good, you can hit OK, and now you've got these 2 components joined together. So go ahead and pause this video, import the remaining components, and use joints to connect them together. All right, we're back. And as you can see, we've got the robot fully assembled. So the next step is to import some of these auxiliary components, such as the NEMA 23 motors and the NEMA 17 motors. So what you're going to do is go to Upload, and then find the directory where you've saved your step files. I've got one here for this NEMA 23 motor, and then you'll just go ahead and hit Open. And then when you're done with that, you'll click Upload, and it'll add it to your project file. So once it's inside of the project file, you can go ahead and right click on it. So we'll go ahead and find that NEMA 23. And this is the one. We'll go ahead and we'll insert it into the current design. And you'll see it adds it in as another component. Close out of this data panel just to give ourselves some more room. And we'll hit enter to get it onto the workspace. And now we can use joints to line this up. So the NEMA 23 motors are going to go on the base motor mount, and then the NEMA 17 motors will go towards the end effector. on this motor mount. So now what you can do is just open up the joint menu and then align the components together. That looks pretty good. Now we want the motor to be locked in place, so that's going to be rigid. And we can kind of take a look at how this lines up, and that actually looks pretty darn good. So once you're happy with that, just hit enter, press OK, and now we have the motor on here. So you'll notice that this motor actually came with some fasteners, so you won't actually need to find the McMaster car library in order to move these guys. But I will say that it can be kind of challenging moving these little imported components if they're not already a group. This one looks like it's fine as is. So what we can do is just go ahead, capture the position, and we'll go ahead and we'll find this inside circle. We'll go ahead and we'll zoom out just a little bit. We're going to go over here and we're going to select the inside circle here, and that'll be snapped in and that'll be rigid. That looks pretty good. So you'll go ahead and you'll repeat this process for the remaining screws for this motor, and then you can go ahead and import another NEMA 23 motor and attach it to this motor mount. So I'm going to go ahead and work through this right now. Feel free to watch me as I'm doing this just to kind of get some understanding of some of the methods that I use. And I'm also going to kind of talk to you about some of the tools that I'm using when I'm designing. You'll notice that I kind of play around with my view. And so there's a cool little shortcut of how to do this. If you hit the shift key and the middle mouse scroll wheel, you can actually orbit, which is like so nice because getting to see certain parts of your component can be challenging, especially when you want to join something together. And so if you accidentally select the wrong thing, you could be connecting parts that actually don't make sense. So that's a nice little trick. So there are a ton of different, specialty CAD modeling peripherals. Like I don't have a special mouse or anything. This is literally just a wireless mouse that's plugged in USB, and it's pretty standard. If you're interested, I can leave a link in the description below. But the reality is you're going to want to use something other than a trackpad, because trackpads they're good. And I mean, I'm running this on a Mac right now, so I've got a really good trackpad. It's just not as convenient as having a mouse. And you'll notice that your workflow is a lot faster if you use a mouse. So you can kind of see and just repeating this process for the remaining screws. And I love using the keyboard to bring up some of these menus just because I feel like it's so much faster than finding them in the toolbar, especially if you know their code. And if you don't know their code, you can use the letter S to bring up a search menu. So if you're trying to find something, if you bring up S, it brings up the model shortcuts. You can type in joint, and there it is. Like you don't have to go looking through layers of different menus and try to figure out where it's actually stored. All you need to know is how to search for something, or just remember the shortcut key on your keyboard. So that looks pretty good. Now we just need to repeat this process with another NEMA 23 motor, and then we'll go ahead and import the NEMA 17 motors and add them to this drawing. So go ahead and pause the video here. I'll give you some time to work on importing the motors, and then when you're done, come back here and we'll move on to the next step of adding in the end effector. All right, welcome back. And now we've got our motors mounted to both of the motor plates. We've got the NEMA 23 motors on the bottom. We've got some NEMA 17 motors on the top. What we want to do now is we want to bring in the end effector, which I've chosen to use the Robotics 3-finger gripper, which is really, really cool. You can download a copy of the Robotics gripper along with the NEMA 17 and NEMA 23 motors in the article below. If you followed along with this tutorial and have used the same dimensions as I have, then the Robotics gripper will connect cleanly to link number 6. And then I've chosen to do a little bit of a powder coat over the parts. So what you'll do is you'll go and select the component that you want to change, and then you're going to go to open, and you can't change any sort of features on a component in a full assembly. It just won't let you. So what you can do is open up the A menu, and that'll be for appearance. And let's just say we want to print this in a white ABS. So go down to plastics, you'll select the white ABS, you'll just drag it and drop it over the top, and now your model is in a white ABS. Just hit save, Control S, or Command S if you're on a Mac. And then when you go into your assembly, you'll notice that it hasn't changed yet, but you'll see that there's this little warning over the part. So just right click on it and select Get Latest. And it'll go through, it'll get the latest, and now you've got your base now in that white ABS. So that's just a little trick on how to make your models more realistic. I'm going to actually go and generate some drawings with it. And one of the most coveted things about creating CAD models and drawings is the exploded view. And so you can do that in Fusion. It's a little bit different than other platforms, but we're going to switch over to the animation workspace. And you can kind of see that I've already started to take this model and make an exploded version of it. So you'll first need to create yourself a storyboard. I'm going to go ahead and just create a clean one, and you can follow along with me. Once you have yourself a storyboard, you're going to go down to this animation timeline. And instead of calling it storyboard, let's call it exploded view. And I've just named my new exploded view because I've got quite a few different exploded views on here. And that's going to be important later as we select this animation in our drawing. So make sure you give it a meaningful name. Click the Transform Components button. And this is kind of like the most tedious part of the whole process, is you're going to have to select every single component and slightly move it around. So what I'm going to do, and I actually really enjoy using this browser for this, because sometimes if you try to go and select a component, it's not all grouped, and then you end up moving pieces that you don't want to actually touch. So I'm going to actually click on this gripper. Let me get rid of that. I'm going to click on the gripper, and then I'm going to just move it out a little bit. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to repeat this process for the remaining components. I'm just going to move it out a little bit. And I'll grab this one. And I like to work from backwards, basically from the end effector to the base, just because the base is what's stationary. So if you start from the base, it's kind of a little bit confusing where the robot is sitting. But if you start from the end effector, then it looks a little bit more realistic. So now we can go ahead and grab this one, and I'm just going to move it up a little bit. This is really just personal preference. Like, it doesn't really matter where you move this. I mean, if you spend some time and play around with it, you can get some pretty cool looking models. That looks actually really good. So then what you can do is you can go ahead and save this. Go back to your modeling workspace, and then what we'll do is we'll go up to File, New Drawing from Design, and it's going to ask you like what reference you want, which is going to be the full assembly. So I'm just going to leave that to default. And I've noticed that this can take a little bit of time to load, so just be patient with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bump this up just a little bit so that it's a little bit bigger on the drawing. And you can play around with what view you want. I'm usually a huge fan of the home view. And then what you'll do is just click anywhere on the paper, hit OK, and it'll place the model. The next thing you can do is bring in another model, and instead of placing the model from the modeling workspace, we're going to actually place the model from our new exploded view workspace, which will then get you all of those components blown out. And so I'm going to go ahead and kind of play with this. I think that looks pretty good for an exploded view. And you want to make sure that your scale is consistent for all of your models, because it can be confusing for people reading the drawing. So then you'll just click and then hit OK. And now you've got yourself both the assembled view and the exploded view, which I think is really cool, because then you can add in a table. And so the table will go ahead and generate a bill of materials. It'll tell you information about all of the parts needed to actually build this assembly. So once the table window pops up, you're going to need to select a reference, and that's basically like, do you want this model to have all the callouts, or do you want this model to have the callouts? And I personally just like it on the exploded view, so I'm going to pick that one. And then this table is going to pop up. It's basically telling you need to place the table somewhere, and I tend to go down to this bottom left corner just because I think it looks neat. I don't personally like the titles at the bottom, so I'll double click on this table and I'll make the direction go down so that the headers are on the top. And because there is no part description, I'm just going to remove that from the table. There's really no need to have that in there. But as you can see, you have a lot of different options for what you can add to this table. It'll tell you the item number, the quantity, what the part number is or the model name is, and then the material that it's in. So if you didn't want to show material on there, you can just leave it like this, and that's pretty good. Then what we can do is we can kind of move this table out, and that looks good. And then we can kind of adjust this table down a little bit so that it's nice and flush with the corner, and that looks pretty good. So now you've got yourself a parts list or bill of materials, and you've got yourself a model. If you notice, this model is actually like hanging over the edge. So to fix that, just type in M, and then you're going to select the point, and then you're just going to move this guy down. And I'm going to try that one more time. Just kind of move it over and then hit enter, and that looks pretty good. So now you've basically generated a drawing from your assembly. If you want to print this out, you can use this to go ahead and start the manufacturing process. So one last thing I just want to point out is this little title box down here. If you double click on it, you can edit all the information in here. So if you wanted to give it another title, you wanted to give it a code, a drawing number, a revision number, if you wanted to change any of this information, you can do so right here. And lastly, you can always output this as a PDF, a DWG file, or a CSV file. But in the next tutorial, we're going to look at taking all of these components and 3D printing all of the links that we drew, and then sourcing the motors, the fasteners, and potentially a gripper. So that's how you create a drawing from Fusion 360. Stay tuned for the next tutorial where I share with you how to take all of these individual components and get them ready for 3D printing, as well as sourcing motors and the end effector. Please let me know what you think of this tutorial series by smashing that thumbs up button. And if you did enjoy this article, please share it with a friend, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.